People used to laugh at Hyundai, and I mean really laugh. There was a joke going around that said, you can double a Hyundai's value just by filling it up with gas. That's how bad the reputation was. But here's what's wild. That same company people were mocking, today, it's the third largest car producer on the entire planet, beating out Ford, beating out General Motors. So how does that even happen? How does a brand that was the butt of every joke in America turn into one of the most respected car companies in the world? Well, it all starts with one man. A barefoot farm boy from a tiny village in Korea. A boy who had nothing. No money, no education, no connections, just hunger. A burning, desperate hunger to escape poverty. This is his story. And trust me, it is not the story you think it is. His name was Chung Ju-yung, born in 1915, deep in the mountains of Korea. At the time, Korea was under Japanese colonial rule. Life was hard for everybody, but for Chung's family, it was brutal. His father worked from sunrise to sunset on a farm, 7 children to feed. And still some days, there simply wasn't enough food. Chung was the oldest son, so at just 14 years old, he had to drop out of school and join his father in the fields. He planted rice by hand, he raised animals, he walked from town to town selling firewood just to bring home a few coins. And every single night, he'd lie there in the dark and think, is this it? Is this all my life is ever going to be? At 16, he'd had enough. He grabbed a friend, and they walked miles through dangerous roads until they reached a city called Gowon. They found work as construction workers. The pay was terrible, but Chung didn't care. He was free, he was earning, he was moving forward. 2 months later, his father tracked him down and dragged him home. But Chung didn't stop. He escaped again, got caught, escaped again, got caught again, 4 times total. And each time his father would say to him, don't forget who you are. You're just a farm boy who only finished 6th grade. Seoul is full of unemployed graduates and you think you're gonna make it? You're nobody. Those words were meant to break him. Instead, they fueled him. The 4th time Chung escaped, he never went back. He took any job he could find. Laborer, construction worker, factory handyman. Then one day he landed a delivery job at a rice store, riding his bicycle, delivering rice door to door. It wasn't glamorous, but it was stable. And Chung didn't just show up, he showed out. His work ethic was so impressive that within 6 months, the owner promoted him all the way to store accountant. Eventually, the owner got sick and couldn't run the shop anymore, so he sold it to Chung. At just 22 years old, Chung owned his first business. He renamed it, cut the prices, built a loyal customer base. The shop was growing, profits were climbing. Things were finally looking up. Then the Japanese government stepped in and banned Koreans from trading rice. Just like that, the shop was gone. Most people would have quit by now. Chung sat down and made a list. What businesses can I still run under Japanese rule? The answer? Auto repair. He took out a bank loan, bought a small garage. He knew absolutely nothing about cars, so he hired a great mechanic. And he did what he always did, offered the lowest prices in the city and treated every single customer like gold. The business took off. Within months, he had over 70 employees. Then a fire burned the entire shop to the ground. Equipment gone, customer cars are gone, massive debt left behind. Again, most people walk away. Chung took out another loan, opened a new shop in a busier location. And within 2 years, it was one of the best garages in Seoul. Then the Japanese government took it from him and seized it for their war efforts. 3 businesses, all destroyed, all outside of his control. But here's what nobody could take from Chung, his mindset. Every time he lost everything, he just asked himself one question. Okay, what's next? When World War II ended, Korea was finally free. Chung reopened his garage in 1946. This time, he named it something bold. Hyundai Auto Service Center. In Korean, Hyundai means modern. The business grew fast. But then, Chung noticed something. He was submitting contracts for 300,000 won and watching construction companies walk away with 10 million per project. That gap changed everything. In 1947, he founded the Hyundai Construction Company. It struggled at first. Small jobs, small money. Then the Korean War broke out in 1950. North Korea invaded the South. Chung had to abandon everything and flee to the city of Busan with nothing in his pockets. He and his brother wandered the streets delivering newspapers to survive. Then, one day he saw a sign, "Help Wanted US Army." The Americans needed local construction experts. Chung raised his hand. He started building barracks for US soldiers, then bigger projects, remodeling US quarters, building lodging for the US president during visits to Korea. By the time the Korean War ended, Hyundai was the first company in line for every major reconstruction contract in the country. In 1953, Chung won the contract to restore the Goryeo Bridge, the biggest project in South Korea at the time. And it was a disaster. He lacked experience, he lacked equipment, inflation ate through his fixed payment, accidents happened on the job site, his brothers had to sell their houses to pay the workers. When it was finally done, the family was buried in debt, living in small shacks, humiliated by competitors who said, "What would a 6th grade dropout know about inflation?" He had it coming. Chung looked at his brothers and felt something he'd never felt before: guilt. And in that moment he made a vow: I will not just build a successful business. I will build the biggest company in this entire country. And then he said something that tells you everything about who this man was. I failed because I was lacking experience, so I brushed it off and treated it as an expensive lesson. That bridge, the biggest failure of his life, turned out to be the turning point of his entire career. Because that failure gave Hyundai a high credit score with the government, easier loans, better access to equipment, a competitive advantage nobody else had. Hyundai began winning contract after contract, roads, bridges, dams, buildings all across South Korea. Then he took it international. Billion-dollar projects in Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, from a failing garage to a global conglomerate in 2 decades. But Chung had one dream he never let go of: cars. In 1967, he founded the Hyundai Motor Company. He partnered with Ford, built a factory in 6 months, rolled out their first car, the Hyundai Cortina. It flopped. The roads in Korea were unpaved and the Cortina couldn't handle them. People stopped paying, demanded refunds. Then floods hit the factory, and cars were literally floating inside the building. Rumors spread that Hyundai was selling waterlogged vehicles. The company was on the edge of bankruptcy. People told Chung, "It's over, shut it down." He looked at them and said, "I will never take down a single Hyundai sign with my own hands. If I start something, I'm going to see it through." So he kept going. Ford was making things difficult. They refused to let Hyundai sell overseas. They refused to share profits equally. Chung saw the truth. Ford wanted to use Hyundai as cheap labor and own the Korean market themselves. In 1974, he cut ties with Ford completely and made a decision that would change everything. We're going to build our own car from scratch. He partnered with Mitsubishi for the engine, hired European engineers for the design, built a car made specifically for Korean roads. They called it the Hyundai Pony. At $5,900, it was affordable, it was reliable, and Koreans loved it. 4 out of every 10 cars sold in South Korea was a Pony. They expanded to Canada's best-selling car. But the US market? Off limits, the Pony couldn't pass American emission standards. So, in 1985, they released a new model, the Hyundai Excel. Price tag? $4,995. Half the cost of any new car in America. In the very first year, Hyundai sold 168,000 Excels in the US alone, 1 million more worldwide. A Korean car company had just broken into America. But success brought a new problem. The quality still wasn't there. Americans started making jokes again. Hyundai stands for Hope You Understand Nothing is Drivable and Inexpensive. Sales dropped. Reputation suffered. So Chung made one final bold move. He invested everything into quality, hired the best engineers, developed their own engines, built new models, the Accent, the Sonata, the Elantra. Then in 1998, Hyundai acquired Kia Motors. Together, they poured billions into design, quality, and manufacturing. By 2004, Hyundai tied with Honda as the second best initial quality brand in the industry, only behind Toyota. And then came the move that sealed it all. A 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty on every vehicle sold in America. No other brand was doing that. It said, "We believe in our cars, and we'll prove it." Sales exploded. Today, the Hyundai Motor Group has surpassed General Motors to become the third largest automaker in the world, and they're leading the charge in electric vehicles. Chung Ju-yung passed away in 2001, but before he left, he said something worth remembering. It is not our successes that teach us the most. It is our failures. Those who forget their failures will fail again and again. Think about that for a second. This man lost his business not once, not twice, but multiple times. He was mocked, humiliated, buried in debt, called nobody, called a sixth-grade dummy. And yet, he built the biggest company in South Korea. He reshaped the global car industry. He turned a joke into a giant. Not because he never failed, but because he never stopped. If you're going through something hard right now, remember the farm boy from the mountains of Korea. He started with less than you have, and he changed the world. If Chung built this empire starting from a sixth-grade education in colonial Korea, what is your excuse? Thanks for watching. If this story moved you, you share it with someone who needs it. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.